clean up penalty team, Stokan from Oxford.
Thank you. It's such an honor and gift to be with all of you giants who have built this movement. When Bill and then John asked us to not only speak about our organizations, asked us to go and write about why social justice should be up high for intentional and Eucharistic communities. And I really think we need to reverse that. Why more social justice people also need to be more grounded in intentional and Eucharistic communities. So I bow before all of your good work and all of you giants who pioneered this wonderful movement. Personally, I've also been a part of various communities, living communities for 20-some years, and most recently had the gift to live with Joe Nagle and the Franciscan community, community, with Sister Deanna Ortiz and Marie Dennis, and each morning beginning with morning prayer, where literally it's holding the newspaper, as they say, with one hand and our Bible on the other each morning, and spending a half hour saying, now what does that mean for our day? So that kind of grounding information I've gotten from Joe and others are integral to my ministry within Pax Christi. But how many of you are Pax Christi members? Oh, wonderful. Okay. Those of you who are not, as blue or short, there's someone back here, there's some other, because I have a button here that says Pax Christi needs you. This is our moment to bring gospel nonviolence to this country and this world, and we've got to build this movement strong. But for those of you for whom Pax Christi is new, Pax Christi is the global Catholic peace movement. It was founded as a reconciliation movement between French and German Catholics after World War II. So it grew out of that. It's currently in about 50-some countries where there are Pax Christi affiliates, everywhere in all the continents, India, Pakistan, DR Congo, Latin America. And we do sometimes coordinated efforts for advocacy, globally coordinated, but each section, and we are the U.S. section of Pax Christi, has its own identity. The U.S. section was founded also in early 70s, 1972. Bishop Gumbleton was one of the early founders. And it's a membership organization, so it's individual members as well as group members. We have, those of you who are individual members, there's about 25,000 individuals. There's about 400-some local group chapters of Pax Christi. And some of those mix. If you join, you can be shepherded to the local chapter. But there's 400 chapters, about another 100 or so campus groups. The individual bishops, we even have 100 dues-paying bishop members. Now, half of them are retired. They are the crux of the Vatican II, but we do have some that are active, and we nudge them to bring this voice to the larger church. But Pax Christi, the central principle is gospel nonviolence, how to bring that to our daily lives, how to bring it to our communities, and how to bring it to society. So as a national organization, we provide prayer, study, and action resources to make that happen. Again, some of those are in that. So it's publications, books on the spirituality of nonviolence, or Lenten and Advent books. The action resources, we have the written, but we also have an email listserv that you can sign up for, which each week puts out what are the key issues right now to be acting on, whether it's on housing or the death penalty. So the variety of activities for which we try to apply nonviolence varies by local chapters, by individuals' interests. So we might have a vigil in one community outside where an execution is happening in terms of addressing the death penalty, or some Pax Christi chapters leading alternative Good Friday processions through parts of town where there are seats of power trying to bring that attention. So the variety of work changes. At the national level, we are often asked to bring a progressive Catholic peace voice into other circles, often secular circles or interfaith circles. For example, last year and a half, we were very active in trying to stop a war on Iran. We've gotten close to in terms of the past administration, and we did a whole host of activities, again, with the secular coalition, but when they need faith-based leaders. And we had Father Joe Nagle be a part of a press conference on Capitol Hill, in which we had members of Congress, community leaders, Congress people, actually picking up red phones and calling Iranians in Iran to say we need people-to-people dialogue. That's the answer. It's not bombing Iran. We also were part of bringing a Catholic voice, a religious voice, to a group of leaders in New York when the president of Iran came to show that we have to model dialogue. What are the choices? If there's anything we've learned from Iraq, violence begets violence. So there's a number of current actions. Again, in the back is a statement we did on Afghanistan. It's a sign-on statement. We invite you to be part of it, saying, before we go to even deeper quagmires, stop and do the full court press on diplomacy. Iraq and Afghanistan are very different, but that same piece of trying to put a military solution to very complex situations which are only going to fuel terrorism, only going to fuel anti-American hatred. This is a call to say stop and look at other, how to use nonviolence, but concretely through dialogue, through regional processes, not with the U.S. in the lead, but through multilateral processes for change. The last thing I just wanted to say about our work and our membership. About a dozen years ago, we did an internal survey. We found that about 96% of Pax Christi members were white, most fairly educated. And as I look around, it's a challenge for many of our progressive Catholic movements. And we did a lot of soul searching to say we cannot call ourselves the body of Christ unless we look like the body of Christ. And it began, and I think maybe Joe, you were on the National Council at that time, and I know Marie, of how do we change this? And a very strong commitment came to become an anti-racist, multicultural movement for social change. So it's changed the way we've done quite a number of our activities in terms of who we partner with and who our definitions of peace are shaped by. And so we began some years back at the 20th anniversary of the Peace Pastoral, where we were going to do a reflection process and say that bishops aren't writing anything on what are the challenges of peace today. Let's do a grassroots process. So we started it, and then we had to stop. Because who was coming to our local groups to build in that reflection process were mostly the same, like, peace activists. And we said we had to change it. So we went through a period of about a year or so of building relations with the National Black Catholic Congress, with the National Catholic Council of Hispanic Ministry, with the Tikik Wicca Conference, with the Asian Pacific Catholics, to say we've all got to shape what nonviolence and what peace, what are the challenges of peace today. And it was a beautiful process of African Americans who came to the table saying, we've got to talk about economic violence. We've got to talk about the Mexican border. That's where violence is happening. So it stretched our agenda, so we find ourselves working on many issues about economic violence, from climate change to a whole host of how this economic downturn is hurting people of color. And we have a large process of changing our national council. At one point, most recently, we were about a half people of color on our national council. And it's taking a while to trickle down, but we have an anti-racism team. But it's not just how do we take communities of color into account, but how do we become accountable to communities of color. And so it's been a wonderful process, and we could say more about that in the question and answer part. I would say what's on our agenda for this next year, as I mentioned, Afghanistan is big. We started that before President Obama announced that there's going to be more troops, but we have to, again, raise the fear of what the military footprint is doing in that region of the world again. The nuclear issue is going to be very big again. As some of you know, President Obama announced in Prague some weeks back that this is a moment where we could imagine that nuclear weapons could be done with once and for all. That's quite an opening. Now, it's not going to happen alone. We have to seize that and do work at the grassroots level with Congress people. We're trying to impact social teaching not only through our Pax Christi international partners to move the Vatican and finally come out on the immorality of nuclear weapons, but then move bishops, or we don't also wait for them as others can. We go and make our own declarations. But torture, we still have lots to do on torture in terms of getting a commission of truth so that our society can face what has been done and hold our own leaders accountable. And And the only other piece I want to say is for those of you who might be from Chicago or the Midwest, though, it's a national conference. Anyone could come. Our annual conference this summer is going to be in Chicago, and it's July 16th through 19th weekend. The title is Remaining Awake Through a Great Revolution. And we picked that title as a Martin Luther King phrase. And it's also this moment with the new president and Congress, people think, well, we have that space now. We have a progressive, context. We don't have to work that hard anymore in this room. But it's to say we only have a window. This is a new context, but we have to build on it. We have to community organize. And almost like the Obama victories, how they were so strong in the organizing, the community organizing to make that kind of machine and create space for a new day in this country. The community end of community organizing needs to be built up, and you are the experts on that. So we need to bring the best of what we know about community, the best of what we know about organizing at this moment, and build all of our movements great so that we can use these windows to create social change. Thank you.
Thank you.